Hello and welcome back to another episode of 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I am more than overjoyed to be bringing you today's college football preview game with the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Missouri Tigers with our host, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Jeremiah? Happy Monday to everyone watching out there. We got a great matchup this upcoming Saturday, October 2nd at noon Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a good matchup. Two teams, both at 500. Who will get over it and who will fall under it? It's going to be a good matchup between these two teams.
Absolutely. And Knoxville is a place that's dear to my heart. It's where I went to high school at. It's where I went to college at. Not at the University of Tennessee, but right there in Knoxville, nearby. I spent a lot of time right there on campus, seeing the Sea of Orange, having some great days. I was there during the 98, 99 seasons, around those whole times when the Vols were just kicking butt and they were on the top of their game. And of course, we want it to be hot like 98 again. So, we want to see that happen. We want to see the Vols continue to thrive. And, while this is a rebuilding year, like you said, they are at 500 right now. They have a chance to keep on pushing it. They can have a good winning season. They can start off big and maybe hit a bowl game. For Missouri Tigers, they want to come in here and continue to, grow, and they want to get over that 500 mark. So both of these teams really have something to prove, and I cannot wait for this matchup. So, Mr. Logan Landers, tell us, what do my Vols have to look forward to, and what do the Missouri Tigers have to look forward to this game?
Well, let's talk about the Vols because you don't got to worry about Emory Jones this week, thankfully. We just talked about what he did against Tennessee last week, ran the ball all over the place, threw the ball for a lot of yards too. So you don't got to worry about that kind of threat coming at you this week, thankfully. But for the Vols, they did pretty good last week. Hendon Hooker, the quarterback they're rocking with, 13 of 23, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Had a solid game. It just wasn't enough to get past this Florida defense, which, hey, that's not a small task. Might be necessary. The running game was pretty efficient. No one really stood out in terms of getting a big play or anything. They ran for 148 yards total as a team, so collectively they did fine. For the receiving core, not too much to speak about. Everyone was kind of spread around. Not too many guys got a bunch of catches, but Javonte Payton did get 1 touchdown with 2 catches for 82 yards with a 75-yard bomb, which helped out with the Tennessee offense. So he was looking good. For the fumbles, they gave up. They had Hendon Hooker. He did fumble it once, but they did get it back. So you got to hope that they don't come in here just fumbling the ball all over the place. Man, Trayvon Flowers, they give a shout out to him because he put in a lot of work this past week against Florida. 15 total tackles, led the way for the Vols, looked absolutely great. Can't ask much more for the big guy. He was looking good. They only had 1 sack on the day. You got to hope that's got to change. You got to get some pressure on the quarterback. You got to get some turnovers. I know Florida has a great team. They are a top 10 team in the country, but you would have loved to hope that they can get to Connor Basilick and Missouri a little bit more this upcoming week. But they were looking good nonetheless. Tennessee, like I said, they did come short, but it was a close game at halftime. They played the Gators close for 2 quarters. It was 17-14 at halftime, and then after that, Florida just kind of ran away with it. But nonetheless, Florida had a good competitive game for half of it, and you just got to hope that they can get a whole complete 4 quarters of football this upcoming week against Missouri. But I think they should be in fine shape. They look good against the top 10 team, and I think it's good. They got a little edge to them now. They got beat by a good bit. Now they're going to come. They got Missouri, who's a good team, and see what they can do against them. But Missouri had a tough one last week, man. Like I said, they're 2-2 on the year. They faced Boston College, the Eagles, and they lost a heartbreaking one in overtime. They lost 41-34, so a high-scoring game. But, man, the way it ended, Connor Basilick threw a bad interception, man, in overtime, trying to get the ball to his team and get that tying score to keep it going, but picked off on the first play in OT and just was not able to get it going. But, hey, it was a close game, though. Boston College is surprising to people. They're 4-0 this year, so they are undefeated also, looking good. For Missouri, Basilick looked pretty, he looked all right. If it wasn't for the 2 interceptions on the day, I felt like this could have went a different way. But he did throw for over 300 yards. He looked good there. 7.4 average, yards he threw for, so looked good. Has a strong arm. He's able to showcase that. Had a touchdown. And 30 of 41 for passing, which isn't too bad at all. So if it wasn't for these turnovers, and these two these two costly interceptions, I feel like Missouri could have easily won this game. The rushing game wasn't too much to speak of. Tyler Beatty led the way with 72 yards and 2 touchdowns on 18 carries, so he was kind of the lone guy who stood out when it came to rushing the ball. For receiving, they had a good bit of guys getting some catches and getting a good bit chunk of yards as well. Kike Chisholm led the way with 7 catches, and then Tasuki Dove with 89 yards on the day. So the good Bannister had a touchdown. And so they were just kind of spreading the ball all over the place when it comes to offense. But when you throw for over 300 yards, you pretty much have to. They had no fumbles, so they looked good on that end. Not too many turnovers to speak of, except for the 2 interceptions. So you got to hope you can cut down on those. The defense was looking pretty solid as well. I mean, I know you gave up 41 points, but there were a few guys who stood out. Martez Manuel had 11 tackles. They had 1 sack on the day, but combined between Manuel and Blaze Aldridge. And they had 4 tackles for losses. So you got to think that, the defensive coordinator for Missouri and all those guys on defense kind of huddled up after the game last week and really just kind of sat down and figured out what we did wrong, what can we figure out, and what can we improve on so that way that Tennessee doesn't score 50 on our head like, Boston College almost did with 41. So it was a close game. Like I said, Missouri could have easily won that football game if it wasn't for a few costly turnovers. But I think overall in this one, it's going to be a good game, though. Like I said, these guys play at noon. Missouri is going to be at home, so they do have the crowd on hand to help them out in some of those tough situations. But, Jeremiah, I think you're going to like this. I got the Vols getting the win in this one. But I think it will be a closer game. I think it isn't going to be a really high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be a little bit lower. But if I had to give a final score for this one, I think the Tennessee Vols are going to pull out the win in this one. I'll go 28 for the Vols, and I'll go 17 for the Tigers. There's going to be kind of a lower scoring matchup when it comes to what these two teams did last week. But I think Tennessee's just got the better team right now. And I think that, while they did get – both these teams are coming off of a loss last week, Tennessee does have the momentum of, hey, we played Florida great for half the game. In Missouri, they lost a heartbreaker in OT. But I think the Vols are going to get the win in this one. They're going to be the ones going above 500 this season.
Hey, let's go. I am with it. I want to see those Vols keep on pushing. This is a rebuilding year, and I want to see things different. In that last game, I saw a little too much of some stuff that makes me a little anxious with the Vols, where we're more of a different team before the half and after the half. I think that we're going to really shore that up. We're going to decrease that legacy of being 2 different teams in the different halves. We're going to increase the legacy of being a consistent team that comes out of the gates and just comes rocking on offense and defense. Come on, hey, and shout out to Vol Steak. We really appreciate you watching, and we enjoy your content as well. And hey, we're out here, we're doing it, and so. Thank you so much. And just say, I want to see those Vols get that win, go over 500, and continue to build this entire season with Coach Josh Heupel. We just need to continue to do exactly what we're doing now. Stay to fundamental football, stay on the ground, get some good passes, get some interesting plays when we can, but just keep it really, fundamental for a while and really build that original Vols team up that I remember that had these incredible football fundamentals. They were players. These are football players, and I want to see that really grow again. Well, for everybody watching, thank you so much. And incredibly, yeah. Oh, yeah, appreciate you, man. Vol Steak was just saying great content.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we super appreciate it. We work very hard every week to bring these amazing videos to you. And, yeah, it's actually a joy and a pleasure, honestly, that we're able to do this every week. Well, if you're watching us already, thank you so much. And if you're listening to our podcast, thank you again. But if you're not listening to our podcast yet, jump over and listen to the podcast, 100 Yards of Football. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, just pull out your Spotify app or Apple Play podcast. Google, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And what we do is we put out a new podcast pretty much every day. We take our amazing live videos and we stream those over the podcast networks with our partner, the Believe Podcast Network, which we have loved being their partner. And that has really helped us to grow. And so have you so much by telling your friends and family all about 100 Yards of Football. Well, you've been listening to an amazing breakdown of the Tennessee Volunteers versus Missouri Tigers in this college football preview with our host, Logan Landers. Stay tuned for another live video. It's with our host, Vincent Turner, and myself, producer Jeremiah Long, coming up here in just a minute.